Hi, my name is Sophie Scott, and today I'm gonna talk a little bit about the military junta that occurred between 1976 and 1983. First, let's see some of the historical context that occurred by this time. In 1955, a period began in Argentina called the Liberating Revolution, in which a military dictatorship began after the overthrow of the president Juan Domingo Perón. Then the National Congress was also closed, and in 1957 the reform of the Constitution was made. Then in 1966 another coup was carried to throw the president Ilya, seeking to establish another dictatorial system. Now, let's see some of the important dates that occurred that lead to the big coup. In 1966, it was the Night of the Long Sticks. Then in 1967, it was the execution of Che Guevara. Then in 1969 was the Cordobazo, that it was a protest movement occurred in Cordoba that led to the fall of the government of Onganía. Let's talk a little bit about Juan Domingo Perón. He was a military and politician, and he had 3 presidencies, and he participated in the revolution of the 43. And Evita Duarte de Perón was his wife, and she was a descendant of a poor family, and she was the second wife of Perón. She was a politician, feminist, actress, and radio presenter. Now, let's talk a little bit about Peronismo. It was a political movement, a left-wing political ideology, appeared because of Perón's presence in the politics. Some of his highlights was the importance of social justice, and the rural members were extremely important in there. Now let's see some general information of the coup. It occurred in 1976, and its main objective was the transformation of the Argentine society by terror and extermination. There were a lot of kills, of disappearance, and we can see a lot of social control. Even they had detention centers for the people that were not in their side. Then let's talk about Rafael Videla and the military junta. He was a politician and military, and in 1976 he led the coup. He headed the military academy until 1962, and he was the president of the military junta. He was the one that closed the National Congress. In 1985 he was sentenced to a life prison, but in 2008 he was free. The military junta took control over the central workers and promoted the exterior commerce in exchange for disabling national industries that caused an increase in inflation and the exterior debt. Then the armed forces eliminated the leftist and the Peronist guerrillas, also called the Monteros. They also censored books, and a topic that was happening a lot was that they stole children and keep them. The objective of the military junta, or the coup, was a national reorganization. The main leaders were Rafael Videla, Emilio Macera, and Orlando Agosti. It was an authoritarian or an corporate regime. It was a systematic repression in which we can see kidnappings, disappearance, torture, detention, murder, and like the child adoption. And the strikes were prohibited, so it was like a total control over all the society. In the economic aspects, the state regulation of interest was like totally eliminated, and the banks and financial institutions proliferated. By 1981, the inflation reached 100%, and Roberto Eduardo Viola becomes the president. And in 1982, the president, General Leopoldo Fortunato becomes the president, and it occurred the Guerra de las Maldivas. Now let's see like some of the causes. The long-term or international causes were principally the Cold War and like its capitalist versus communist ideologies. In short terms, it was like the appearance of the Peronist guerrillas or the Montoneros. Then we can see like a lot of appearance of different parties, especially the Justicialist Party, that it was democratic. Then the Juan Domingo Perón's death and the Maria Estela Martinez de Perón rise to power, like they were, like that was the thing like that like exploded everything. In the international causes, we can see the Plan Condor and the exchange of information regarding subversion in the countries, and the dollar like tripled its price. Some of the internal causes was like the Air Force coup d'etat attempt, and like the inflation and like all the problems inside the country, including the Congress and executive, like they were not aligned. Now let's see like two of the main like things that occurred and the main important events. It was the Operation Condor, that it was in 1975, and it was like a repressive political campaigns based on terrorism and fear by the government, supported all by the US. Its objective was to coordinate the effort on the fight against subversion. We can see a lot of torture, exile, kidnappings, imprisonment, and disappearance. And it was like one of the biggest violations of human rights. Then, Abuelas de la Plaza de Mayo. It occurred in 1977, and a lot of mothers and grandmothers of the victims made protest, which showed the repression and military dictatorship they were living on. It was like a lot of pacific protest, marching on La Plaza de Mayo, wearing only white scarves and paper wrappers on their kids, and like with pictures of like the lost kids and everything, and it created indignation in the international community. Now, some of the consequences is that this coup led to a dictatorship, and like it led like a lot of disappearance, murders, torture, and it was like described as a genocide. Like at the end, like a lot of people died, a lot of people disappeared, and it was like a whole violation of the human rights. And in the economic aspects, between 1979 and 1981, the external debt increased like fivefold. It reached the 364%. And in the political aspect, like they started like to bring back democracy. And its relationship with the Cold War was that a fight supported by the US against like the communism, a dictatorship against left-wing political opponents, and that like Argentina government was forced to choose a side, and like it was this war, like if they should go like with the Soviets or with the US. And its economy changed from, no, its politics changed from socialist to democratic. And the US was aware of the coup and the human rights violations, and like they didn't do like anything. So in conclusion, we can see in this coup a political instability and exchange of ideologies. Some of there were fascism, socialism, and populism. We can see also the Petronistas, a big violation of the human rights, including kidnapping, murders, torture, and disappearance. And that's everything.